The Washington Post running an editorial that declared President Trump complicit with the storm because of his administration's regulatory policies on things like fossil fuels. The Post says this, quote, the president has cemented the GOP's legacy as one of reaction and reality denial. Sadly, few in his party appear to care. Well, let's see if Senator Lindsey Graham does. He's a Republican from South Carolina. He spoke with the president this evening. Welcome, Senator.
Thank you.
Do you feel the president and the feds have given you everything they can at this point as your state waits now?
So he called at 5 o'clock and he said, do you have everything you need? Is there anything we're not doing for South Carolina you would like me to do? He called Tim Scott. He called the governor. I am very pleased with the Trump administration's response to the impending hurricane. What I'm worried about is people being responsible for themselves. The government can only do so much. If you don't leave now, if you don't leave the next 24 hours, you're going to get caught with no power. And if you get hurt, nobody's going to come to help you. So for God's sakes, leave the areas in question.
Are you worried there are people who aren't evacuating?
I am worried that people misunderstand what's about to happen. Hugo blew the state away, strong winds. Matthew, a couple of years ago, soaked the state. This is a 1-2 punch. You're going to have torrential rain and Category 3 winds. And it could stay around for a couple of days. There's no place in South Carolina or North Carolina for water to go. We're waterlogged, so I worry about flooding, I worry about wind damage, and if you don't leave now, you could be trapped for weeks before anybody can get to you.
So the administration has made a real show of saying we're ready. FEMA's ready. We're ready with our state partners. We're ready with our local partners. But already I'm starting to hear, and I read a piece today that talked about how the response to what happens in the Carolinas and Georgia, wherever else this impacts, is going to be so much better than what happened last year with Maria and Puerto Rico, hinting that this president cares more about Americans who are on the continental 48 states than they do about the folks in Puerto Rico. This is what Rush Limbaugh had to say about that today.
Trump is more out of touch than Bush was during Katrina, and Hurricane Florence hasn't even hit. An obsession has gotten hold of these people. There's almost like a demonic possession that has come over these people.
So can the president win? I mean, if this is a good response, there's going to be the comparison to last year.
There's some people he can't win with, but he's going to win with the people of South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia if he keeps doing what he's doing. As to Puerto Rico, it's an island nation. It's a very tragic thing that happened. I've got to focus on what's coming. You know, the president is in the here and now. He's president of the United States. He called myself, the governor, Tim Scott. I can't think of anything that he has not offered that I wished he would offer. That's all I can say. To the people of South Carolina, the president is on this, and I'm going to the National Emergency Center here in D.C. tomorrow to get an update. I'll be home later in the day, and we're as prepared as I know how to be. But I want to stress this. You can do something about your own fate here. If you live in the areas in question along the coast, please leave.
All right, you're also part of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Last week had the questioning and the hearings for Judge Kavanaugh. Within the next weeks or so, the committee is going to finally get around to voting. But today he turned in answers to more than 1,000 follow-up questions that primarily Democrats had. But tonight we're also hearing that Senator Collins, obviously a key GOP vote in this, says she's got more questions for him. She wants to meet with him again. What do you think his odds are at this point?
Well, I think it's good. I don't think he could have done a better job. The criticism against him is mostly manufactured. If you don't want to vote for a conservative Republican nominee, just be honest about it. They're accusing him of things he did not do. He never talked to a lawyer in a 300-person law firm about the Mueller case inappropriately. He had no idea that Manny Miranda stole documents. He wasn't in on that.
But Miranda says he didn't.
Huh?
Miranda says he didn't. He said he accessed documents that were there for the taking, and it might not have been the best idea.
So
but
Manny
to use
says
the word
he didn't
stolen.
steal anything. But here's the question: nobody has said that Kavanaugh knew anything about it.
Yeah. Okay, I want to read something from the New York Times talking about the threats that have been coming against Senator Collins and her staff. They said this: the frustrations boiled over at points. Annie Clark, a spokeswoman for Ms. Collins, provided the New York Times with copies of a letter and multiple voicemail messages addressed to the senator using vulgar language. We can't even repeat it here on the air. And outright threats. One caller told a 25-year-old female staff member at one of Ms. Collins' main offices that he hoped she would be raped and impregnated. Where are we? How did we get to this point with this nomination?
Well, you're getting people crawling out from under rocks, and don't listen to them. Susan Collins is a really good, thoughtful senator. She voted for Sotomayor and Kagan because they were qualified. I hope she will do the same for Kavanaugh. He's the best mind of his generation on the conservative side. The American Bar Association rated him well qualified, the highest rating, the highest for integrity and competency and character. They don't have an axe to grind. They said not only was he mainstream, he's probably the brightest person of his generation on the conservative side.
And not a conservative organization. Well, as you meet with the emergency folks tomorrow and head back to South Carolina, all of our best to the folks there.
Thank you.
And obviously we'll be updating and watching around the clock on this.
Same for our people in North Carolina. We're just soaked. There's no place for the water to go. I just worry about the flooding more than anything else.
Well, hopefully folks will heed all of the warnings top down to go and be away from that area. Senator, thank you. We wish you guys the best.